Story 46, a very short one. I call it the Old Homestead. All right. I forgot all about this story till about 2 days ago. I was out driving locally, not far from where I live here, and down like a secondary road. Part of it's dirt, and it's just woods for the most part. In central New York, Jug Street in Moravia, to be precise, New York. And these woods, a lot of them, there's a lot of old farm, like foundations of old farms from the 1800s back in these woods. And I have been collecting cork bottles since I was like 9 years old, and I still collect them. I got loads of them. Really old bottled bottles. Generally, I collect stuff from like 1870 and earlier. Well, one day I went out with my wife at the time, but became my ex-wife. She wasn't my ex yet. We went out to one of these places. Wanted to dig around. Never dug anywhere around Jug Street. Never really looked around there much. I knew there was a lot of old foundations back in the woods, here and there. And so we went to this place. It was late fall, and so there wasn't a lot of, it wasn't grown over, because you got to look either early spring or you got to look late fall when all the foliage is gone, because you'd never find a place. It just overgrown in pricker bushes and tall grass, and wild grapevines grow all over everything. And around these places you could always tell there's a homestead there, because the people that built these homes, like around 1840 average date, they put these maple trees in front of their house, and they're like this big around now. And so if you're driving down this dirt road and you see usually 2 or 4 maple trees sitting a little off the road, in the weeds and the tall grass and stuff, go in and you'll find a stone foundation on the ground, nothing standing, everything's down. But the stone foundation's there, and so poke around, you'll find a well usually. You'll find a barn, usually one barn at least. They were all farmers back then. And so I went out there and we were digging around, and there's also old apple trees. I want to give you the image of this, really old apple trees, all twisted up, still alive somehow, and covered in wild grapevines. And I think the people back then, they saw apple trees were like, how could you lose with an apple tree? You can eat the apple, you can make pies with it, you can feed them to your horses, if nothing else. You can make hard cider with it, or cider vinegar. They couldn't lose, by planting apple trees. I know that's what they were thinking, and they were right for their time. And so, at any rate, we're digging around there. Mostly me. I found what I thought was their well, and it was all filled in with rocks. And somebody pushed rocks in there a long time ago when the place was, whatever, burned down. And I thought maybe at the bottom of this well, and I worked hard, and I didn't find anything when I got to the bottom of it, which was really disappointing. Lead pipes. They were using lead pipes for their water. I got that much. And so the whole time her and I were out there, I felt like we were being watched, and she got the same feeling. Just really felt like we were being watched from just inside the wood line that surrounded this place. And, now I need to hear something thump, And I generally don't get the heebie-jeebies, I've dug at a lot of these places, and only once or twice, counting this one, have I ever really felt anything negative or oppressive like I wasn't alone, like I was being watched. And I did it this one, big time. And so did she. And so we left that place empty-handed, I recall, after being there about 4 or 5 hours. And now, skip forward about 7 years later, which would have been about 7 years ago. And I'm driving down that road with my friend Amy. And wasn't even thinking about this. And Amy is clairvoyant, devout Catholic, and very spiritual person. Well, we were headed to Auburn, and we're just kind of going back roads, driving around. And so I wasn't thinking about it. I never, ever told her what I just related. I never really thought much of that, at that time. I didn't think of it as a ghost story. I just thought it was a creepy place, If I ever thought an old homestead was haunted, I would have thought that one was. But I really didn't have anything to say that except for vibes, really heavy vibes that were being watched. So I kind of put it out of my mind. I didn't really relate it as a haunting or anything at the time. So we're driving down the road and we're chit-chatting away. She's quite a chatterbox, so am I. So almost like competition. And so I drove by that place and she's talking to me, and all of a sudden she goes, "Oh my God," she says, "Stop the car, stop the car." I don't know what she's going on about. And she goes, "Oh my God," like she was overwhelmed. And she goes, "Back up." And I backed up and she says, "In there." And she pointed right to where this place was, where I had dug, 7 years before. And she says, "In there." And she was just overwhelmed. She said, "There's children in there, the spirits." And I never told her the story about that place. And she said, "Oh my God." She said, "Their father killed them and then burned the place down to cover it all up. And it killed himself." And she said that it's back in there. And she said, "They're still in there. They're not happy." And I told her what I just related to you in the beginning of this little video. And we said some prayers for them. And then we moved on. And I told her that, yeah, in fact, there is a place back in there. You'd never know it. When we drove by, it was the middle of summer. I forgot to add. Everything was grown over. You'd never even think there was an old stone foundation set way back in there. So, she really was clairvoyant in her way, kind of like myself. I think she entertains it a little more than me, where I tell the stories, but she's tries to like psychic stuff, and I don't know. I've lost touch with her. She's moved on in life. But I wanted to share this little short story. I forgot all about it until about 2 days ago when I was driving down that road, which I generally don't drive down that road. I don't have much call to. It's kind of out of the way. So I thought about that, and I think I'll share that story. So my next two stories, 47. My next story is 47, should be about Skeen Manor, the hauntings. And there's a little bit to that. It takes place over a period of about 3 years. And it has a lesson or two in it, actually, that I learned that I want to impart. It's supposed to be good weather here in New York State tomorrow. And I'm going to cook out because it's October and we're not going to have many of these days left. So Wednesday, I think it's supposed to rain. And it sounds like a good day for me to do story 47, hopefully. And that's it. Story 46, I call it the homestead. I don't know. Could be the crime scene. I never researched this. I never looked into it. I believe her. If she said that happened, when you think about how it came to be, I never told her about that. I don't think she'd ever even been down it. She's not from my town. I'm pretty sure that's the first time she's probably ever down that side road out in the middle of nowhere, Jug Street, Moravia, New York. I'm pretty sure. So the way she reacted and exactly right where that place was, and there's no way for her, you could not see it, anything. The foundation's only about that high up off the ground, all big field stone, you know, and lime, and everything totally grown over. So I believe her. I don't really didn't need to research it. If she said that happened, and she heard the children, they were very unhappy, she said. So we said some prayers over it. That's story 46. And I'm trying to use this lapel mic. Thank you.